AITA for refusing to let my stepson move back in after he tried to get me kicked out of my own house. I, 44F, have been married to my husband Greg, 52M, for 7 years. We've been together for 10. He has a son, Jason, 21M, from a previous marriage. I have no biological children of my own, but I helped raise Jason since he was 11, so I always thought we had a decent relationship. I'm going to preface this by saying the house we live in was mine before I met Greg. I bought it outright after my grandmother passed and left me a very generous inheritance. It's in my name only. I pay the taxes, I paid for all the renovations, and while Greg contributes to the bills, the house is legally and financially mine. Greg and I have always had a mutual understanding about that, and it's never been a point of contention between us. Now, Jason has always been difficult. Not cruel, not a monster, but entitled. His mom coddled him, and Greg never really corrected it. I was more of a neutral party, never trying to overstep as a stepmom. I provided structure, support, and discipline when appropriate, but I wasn't trying to be mom. I thought it worked. When Jason turned 18, he decided he was done with school and rules. He moved out, dropped out of community college after a semester, and started couch surfing with friends. He bounced between jobs and always blamed others when things didn't go his way. Still, we helped when we could. Greg gave him money more times than I was comfortable with, and I let it go because I figured he'd grow out of it eventually. This past May, Jason showed up at our door with 2 duffel bags and a whole sob story. He had a fight with his roommate, lost his job, and was facing eviction. He asked to stay with us for a while. Greg looked at me, and I agreed, with the condition that he contribute something, get a job, help with chores, follow house rules. Nothing extreme, just normal adult expectations. He agreed, but within a week it was like having a disrespectful guest instead of family member. He would sleep all day, play video games all night, leave his dishes everywhere, and constantly complain about the toxic rules of our house, like not blasting music at 2 a.m. I kept my cool. I gave him space to adjust. But things took a turn about a month ago. I came home early from work one day and overheard Jason on the phone in the backyard. He was talking to someone about me, saying things like, "I don't know why this be asterisk TCH thinks she's in charge, and Greg's so whipped he doesn't even realize this house should have been his." I was shocked. He went on to say that he was talking to a lawyer friend who told him that since Greg had been paying bills here and was married to me, he might have a claim to the house. He then laughed and said, "If I play it right, we could probably get her out. Then it's just me and Dad." I walked outside mid-call and told him to get out. Right then and there. He looked like a deer in headlights and started backpedaling hard. Said it was just a joke. Said he was venting. Said he didn't mean it. I wasn't having it. I told Greg everything. And to his credit, he backed me up. We packed Jason's things, and Greg drove him to his mom's place the same night. Here's where the drama really kicked in. Jason has been telling everyone, his mom, Greg's extended family, mutual friends, that I kicked him out over a misunderstanding and am trying to turn his dad against him. He paints himself as a struggling kid who made one stupid comment and is now homeless. His mom called me and said I was being heartless for not giving him another chance, that he's just a dumb kid and I'm destroying his relationship with his father. Greg's aunt sent me a long Facebook message basically saying I'm acting like a wicked stepmother. Even Greg, who initially supported me, has started to waver. He hasn't said I was wrong, but he keeps asking if I'd consider giving Jason one more chance under stricter conditions. He says Jason is deeply remorseful and just lashing out because he's insecure. But here's the thing. This wasn't a stupid comment. This was a plot. He was actively trying to figure out how to get me kicked out of my own home so he and his dad could have it for themselves. That's not insecurity. That's manipulation. I told Greg that Jason is no longer welcome to live here, ever. He can visit during holidays or dinner, but that's it. Greg looked genuinely hurt, and now there's tension between us. I've spent 10 years building a life with Greg. I thought I had a decent relationship with his son. I try to be patient, supportive, and fair. But I can't let someone live under my roof who sees me as an obstacle to remove. So, AITA, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for not letting my sister bring her emotional support dog to my wedding, even though it means she probably won't come. So I, 32F, am getting married in February to my fiancé, 34M, and we're super excited. We've been together for 6 years, and this has been a long time coming. We're having the wedding at a beautiful old estate that we rented for the weekend, and it has very specific rules. One of them being absolutely no pets, no exceptions. It's in the contract. There's a $5,000 fine if any animal is found on the property. Here's where the drama starts. My sister, Lily, 28F, has an emotional support dog named Peanut. He's a little terrier mix, about 15 pounds, and she takes him everywhere. She has anxiety and PTSD, and the dog genuinely helps her. I don't doubt that. But it's important to note that Peanut is not a certified service dog. He's an ESA. There's a legal difference in the U.S. ESAs do not have public access rights the way service dogs do. When I first sent out the invites, I included a little note saying no pets at the venue just in case. I didn't think I had to explain that an ESA wouldn't be allowed either, since the venue has very clear rules, and I assumed that was common sense. Lily called me 2 days after the invites went out and asked if she could bring Peanut anyway. I told her no, gently, and explained the venue's rules. She got very quiet and said, "So, you're telling me I can't come to your wedding unless I ditch the one thing that keeps me sane?" I told her I loved her and wanted her there, but I couldn't risk the fine or breaking the venue's contract. She started crying and hung up. A couple of hours later, my mom called. She asked if I could make an exception just for family. I told her I literally could not, because of the venue's policy, and she hit me with, "Well, I guess you're choosing a fancy house over your sister's health." Since then, things have blown up in a way I did not expect. My sister posted a long thing on Facebook about ableism and how even family can be insensitive. She didn't name me, but it was clearly about the wedding. Several of our extended relatives have messaged me saying I'm being cold and that it's just a little dog. One aunt said she would keep the dog in her car during the ceremony in February, which I shut down fast. I told her that was dangerous and unacceptable. Then she accused me of being inflexible and a bridezilla. Only a few people are on my side, my fiancé, obviously, and a couple of close friends. My fiancé is really upset that people are giving me so much grief, especially when this wasn't even our rule. It's the venues. We chose the estate for its vibe and history, and we didn't even think about pet rules until this came up. Lily hasn't spoken to me since. My mom keeps checking in to see if I've changed my mind. My dad, divorced from my mom, not super involved, told me quietly that he thinks I'm doing the right thing, but I can tell he doesn't want to get in the middle. Here's the thing. I do empathize with my sister. I know she struggles, and I know Peanut helps her. But I also think there's a line between being supportive and letting one person's needs override a whole event's logistics. If I allow Lily to bring Peanut, I'm potentially on the hook for thousands of dollars, and I'll also be breaking the venue's rules. That could even get us kicked out mid-event. Some people have suggested I rent a nearby Airbnb or hotel where Lily can stay with the dog and just come to the ceremony without him. I offered that idea to her, but she said she couldn't handle even an hour without Peanut and that it wasn't fair to ask her to. My fiancé said we should just stick to our decision, even if it means she doesn't come. He thinks the pressure I'm under is emotional manipulation, and honestly, it started to feel like that. I've always been close with Lily. We're not best friends, but we've been through a lot together. I never thought she'd skip my wedding over something like this, and I never thought my own mom would take her side so aggressively. So now I'm sitting here wondering, am I the asshole for not making an exception for my sister's emotional support dog, even though it likely means she won't attend my wedding? AITA for telling my sister she can't stay with us anymore after what she did to my daughter? I, 38F, have a younger sister, Kim, 28F, who recently moved in with me, my husband, Jack, 40M, and our daughter, Lily, 15F. Kim's had a rough few years, job instability, 2 breakups, and some mental health struggles. She asked to stay with us temporarily while she got back on her feet. Jack was hesitant, but I convinced him to give it 3 months max. Kim and I were never super close growing up. She was always the wild one, the one who partied, the one who could charm everyone into giving her what she wanted. I was the responsible older sister, always bailing her out, covering for her, etc. So when she asked to stay with us, I felt a kind of older sister obligation. She moved in mid-July. At first, it was fine. She kept to herself mostly, helped out with chores, even cooked a few dinners. But slowly, I started noticing things that made me uneasy. She'd borrow my clothes without asking, smoke weed in the garage even after he asked her not to, and flirt. Yes, flirt with my husband in this weird, joking way that made Jack uncomfortable. But the biggest issue came with Lily. My daughter is shy, artistic, very into anime and cosplay, and generally more introverted. She's also extremely private, especially about her appearance. She's struggled with body image and self-confidence for years. Therapy has helped a lot, and she's slowly been learning to feel more comfortable in her own skin. About a week ago, Lily asked Kim to help her with a cosplay costume for a Halloween party. Kim is good with sewing and fashion, so I thought it was sweet they were bonding. Lily was making a character she really related to, a confident, punk rock type with short pink hair and bold makeup. She spent weeks perfecting the look. The night of the party, Lily came downstairs in her outfit, and I swear she looked so proud of herself. Jack and I told her how amazing she looked, and she actually smiled in that full, unguarded way she rarely does. Then Kim walked in. She laughed and said, "Wow, that's what you're wearing? I didn't think you'd actually go through with it. That wig is a little much, don't you think? I mean, it's cute, but it's giving midlife crisis." Lily's face just fell. I asked Kim what she meant, and she said, "I just didn't think she'd wear it outside. I thought we were just messing around." I told her the makeup was a bit too draggy, but hey, if she's confident enough to rock it, more power to her. Jack snapped, "That's enough," and Lily quietly turned around, went back upstairs, and didn't go to the party. I followed her and found her sitting on her bed in tears, wiping off the makeup and saying maybe she'd just go back to being invisible. My heart broke. I tried to comfort her, but she just kept saying, "Aunt Kim said it looked stupid. I should have known." I lost it. I went back downstairs and told Kim she had 48 hours to pack up and find somewhere else to stay. She acted shocked and defensive, saying she was just being honest and that I was overreacting. She accused me of picking a side and said I was being dramatic, that Lily would get over it. I told her this wasn't high school and that tearing down a teenager's confidence for a cheap laugh wasn't going to fly in my house. She stormed out and has been staying with a friend. Now, here's where I'm wondering if I went too far. My parents, who have always coddled Kim, say I overreacted and that she didn't mean any harm, that I shouldn't have kicked out family over a comment. My mom said, "Teen girls are dramatic. You're going to let a little costume meltdown come between you and your sister." Even Jack's been quiet about the whole thing. He supports me, but I can tell he feels awkward about it. Lily is still hurt and barely talks about it, but she has started drawing again, so I'm hoping she's recovering. I know Kim doesn't have many options, and I feel bad for making her leave. But I also feel like she crossed a huge line. She knew how sensitive Lily was, and instead of building her up, she knocked her down. Still, there's a part of me wondering, did I overreact by kicking her out over words? Was it too harsh? AITA? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he repeatedly disrespected my boundaries? This has been going on for a while now, and I'm honestly at my wit's end. I, 30F, have a younger sister, Emily, 26F, who's been dating this guy, Mark, 28M, for about a year. When they started dating, I tried to be welcoming and gave them both the benefit of the doubt, but Mark has quickly become a huge problem in my life, and I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong here. A bit of background. I live in a small 2-bedroom apartment in the city, and Emily often visits me. She doesn't live with me, but comes over a lot. Mark, on the other hand, is a bit of a wild card. From the start, he seemed charming enough, but some red flags popped up early on. He's got a pretty temperamental personality, loves to party hard, and doesn't respect personal space well. The trouble started about 6 months ago when Emily and Mark began asking if Mark could occasionally stay over at my place when Emily was visiting. I was hesitant at first because my apartment is small and I value my privacy a lot. But I didn't want to be the mean sister or make them feel unwelcome, so I said he could stay once or twice for short visits, like overnight. That was my first mistake. Mark immediately took that permission and ran with it. He started showing up unannounced, sometimes just to hang out, even when Emily wasn't around. I told him explicitly that my place is not a party spot and that if Emily wasn't there, he couldn't stay. He kept ignoring that. One time, I came home after a long day at work and found Mark passed out on my couch. The place smelled like smoke, and he had left empty beer bottles everywhere. When I confronted him, he acted like it was no big deal and said he was just chilling. I told him that's not okay, and he needed to respect my home and my rules. Emily was there that day, and she apologized but didn't really reprimand him. Things got worse. Mark has this habit of borrowing things without asking. My headphones, my gaming console, even my clothes once. When I asked him to return or stop using my stuff, he'd shrug it off or say he forgot. It's frustrating because I keep my apartment tidy and my belongings organized, and it feels disrespectful that he treats my space like it's a free-for-all. The final straw was last month. Emily was visiting for a weekend, and Mark came over as usual. That night, I went to bed early because I had an important meeting the next day. I woke up in the middle of the night because Mark was blasting music in the living room, loud enough to wake the entire building. I asked him to turn it down, and he got really defensive, telling me to lighten up and that it was their weekend. I was livid. I told him that he was out of line, especially since I work early and need rest. Emily tried to mediate, but Mark wasn't having it. The argument escalated until Mark stormed out. Emily stayed the night, but seemed upset with me for making a big deal out of it. Since then, I decided that Mark was no longer welcome to stay at my place at all, whether Emily is visiting or not. I told Emily this clearly, explaining that Mark's behavior is disrespectful and that I won't tolerate him ruining my home environment. Emily was upset and accused me of being unreasonable and not supportive of their relationship. Emily tried to convince me to give Mark another chance, saying that he was going through a rough patch and that I should be more understanding. I get that relationships aren't perfect, but I don't think it's fair to ask me to sacrifice my peace and comfort for someone who consistently disrespects my boundaries. To make matters worse, Emily started texting me less frequently, and our conversations have become tense whenever Mark is involved. Our relationship is suffering because I'm standing my ground, and she's pushing back hard. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my place after he repeatedly disrespected my boundaries. I feel like I'm just protecting my home, but Emily and Mark think I'm being too harsh. AITA for refusing to give my sister's kids Christmas gifts because of how she treated me growing up. This is a long one, but I need an outside perspective because my family is divided and I'm starting to question if I'm the asshole here. I, 32M, have a younger sister, Lisa, 28F. Growing up, Lisa and I had a complicated relationship. I was always the good kid. I did well in school, stayed out of trouble, and tried to be responsible. Lisa, on the other hand, struggled a lot. She had behavioral problems, often got into fights at school, and our parents had to be very strict with her. This caused a lot of tension between us. Our parents were very protective of Lisa because they thought she needed more guidance and help, but that ended up making things worse for me. Whenever Lisa misbehaved, I would get the side eye or a small punishment, but Lisa got the big, dramatic, we need to get her help treatment. I was expected to be the model child, so whenever I acted out or made mistakes, it was seen as more serious or disappointing. I felt like I was living under a microscope compared to Lisa, and my parents always seemed to make excuses for her that they never made for me. For example, when I messed up in high school, I got grounded or lost privileges. When Lisa did the same or worse, the reaction was she's going through a phase or she needs support, not punishment. Because of this, I started resenting Lisa. I know it sounds petty, but it was very clear our parents treated us differently. I felt like my successes were taken for granted while Lisa got all the attention, even when it was negative attention. She also seemed to have a bit of a superiority complex about it as she got older. She often threw in my face that she was more fun and more exciting, and that I was boring or uptight. This made our relationship very strained growing up. Fast forward to adulthood. Lisa has 2 kids, ages 7 and 4. I don't have kids and never wanted any. Lisa is married to a guy named Mark, who is generally a nice guy and seems to be a good dad. I'm cordial with Mark, but don't spend much time with the family overall. Every year, my family does Christmas gifts for the kids. My parents insist on giving gifts to the grandkids, and usually I also buy something or chip in. Last year, I decided not to buy gifts for Lisa's kids. I told my parents that after everything, I didn't feel obligated to buy gifts for kids from a sister who never really treated me well or cared about me when we were growing up. My parents were upset, saying it wasn't about me or Lisa but the kids. I get that, but I also felt like my sister's poor treatment of me shouldn't be ignored. This year, Lisa found out I wasn't planning on buying gifts for her kids again. She confronted me, saying I was being selfish and cruel. She said it was childish to hold grudges about the past, and that I should just let it go for the kids' sake. She accused me of being spiteful and jealous, and said I was the reason our family is so messed up. I told her that it's not about the kids, but about the lack of respect and love I got from her growing up, and how that hurt me. She told me I was making everything about me, and that I was an asshole for punishing innocent children for things that happened years ago. Now the whole family is involved. My parents are on Lisa's side, saying that I'm being unreasonable and need to grow up and forgive. Some cousins and friends have chimed in, some agreeing with me, and some thinking I'm being petty. I honestly don't know if I'm the asshole here. I don't want to hurt the kids, but I also don't feel I owe them gifts after everything I went through with their mom. If I give gifts now, it feels like I'm rewarding bad behavior from my sister and ignoring my own feelings. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to buy gifts for my sister's kids because of how she treated me growing up. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay in my house after he got kicked out, and now my entire family is mad at me. So, this has been a huge source of stress for me, and I really need some perspective. I, 28F, live in a pretty decent-sized apartment in a mid-sized city. I've always been independent and worked hard to get where I am. I live alone, and I'm pretty private when it comes to my personal space. My sister, 24F, has been dating this guy, Mike, 26M, for about a year now. I didn't know him very well at first, but over time he seemed fine. He was quiet, polite enough, and my sister was happy, so I didn't have much to say. The problem started about 2 months ago. Mike got into a fight with his roommates and ended up getting kicked out of their place. He called my sister upset, and she told me she wanted to help him out since he had nowhere to go immediately. She asked if Mike could crash in my apartment for a few days while he figured things out. Now, I don't have a huge place, but I said okay, thinking a few days wouldn't be a big deal. When Mike moved in, I noticed some things that made me uncomfortable. He stayed in my living room, which I had to rearrange to accommodate him, but that was fine. What wasn't fine was how he acted. He started leaving a mess everywhere. Dirty dishes piled up, trash not taken out, and worse, he would be loud late at night, even though I work early mornings. I tried talking to him politely, but he shrugged it off, saying he was stressed and just needed time to settle. After a week, he still hadn't made any effort to find a new place. I mentioned this to my sister, who promised he was looking, but it felt like they were both just using me as a free place to stay. On top of that, I started noticing little things disappearing from my kitchen, small things like snacks or utensils. I didn't accuse anyone outright because it could have been a mistake or misplaced, but it added to my discomfort. The breaking point came 2 weeks in. Mike had some friends over without asking, and they stayed late into the night, loud and obnoxious. I confronted Mike the next day, telling him this arrangement couldn't continue if he wasn't respectful of my home. He got defensive and told me I was being unreasonable since he was just trying to get back on his feet. I told him that I wasn't his landlord and that I had my own life and responsibilities. My sister got involved at this point. She told me I was being harsh and not family-oriented. She said I should be grateful. She even asked me to help and that Mike was going through a tough time. She reminded me that family is supposed to support each other. I agreed with her in principle, but I also felt like my boundaries were being ignored. I'm not obligated to give up my personal space and comfort indefinitely. After more arguing, I told them both that Mike had to find another place to stay because I couldn't continue like this. My sister was upset and said I was being selfish. Then my parents got involved. They said I was turning my back on family and that I should be more understanding. My mom even accused me of kicking out her daughter's boyfriend without giving him a chance. I didn't kick him out aggressively. I simply said he can't stay anymore after this many weeks without effort to move on and disrespect in my home. I did offer to help him look for apartments and gave him a list of places, but they both act like I'm the villain here. The family is now basically on my sister's and Mike's side, and I'm getting messages about how I need to grow up and be a better sister. Honestly, I feel like I'm being used and that my kindness was taken for granted. I don't mind helping family, but I also need to feel safe and comfortable in my own home. I don't think asking someone to respect that is wrong. Am I the asshole for refusing to let Mike stay any longer, even if it means going against my sister and parents? I'm genuinely torn because I love my family and don't want this to ruin our relationships, but I also can't just keep sacrificing my well-being. What would you do if you were in my shoes? AITA here? AITA for refusing to give my sister a large sum of money to bail her out of a bad financial situation, even though it could cause a permanent rift in our family? This has been weighing on me heavily for the past few weeks, and I honestly don't know if I'm the asshole here or not, so I wanted to get some outside perspective. A little background. I, 34M, have a younger sister, Emily, 29F. We've always been relatively close growing up, though as we got older, our lives naturally went in different directions. I've worked hard and managed to build a stable career with a decent salary, and I'm currently living comfortably. Emily, on the other hand, has struggled financially for a while. She's had a few jobs, but tends to switch frequently and never seems to save much money. She's also gotten into some questionable financial decisions, like maxing out credit cards and even borrowing money from various people with no clear plan to pay them back. Recently, Emily called me out of the blue, sounding really desperate. She told me that she'd made some poor choices and was now facing eviction from her apartment because she hadn't been able to pay rent for 3 months. On top of that, she owed several $1,000s in credit card debt and a payday loan company was threatening legal action. She said she had nowhere else to turn and asked if I could lend her $10,000 to help her get back on her feet. I was shocked. $10,000 is a lot of money for me, and while I'm not wealthy by any means, I do have savings and could probably spare that amount without it causing too much hardship. But something about the whole situation fell off. Emily has always been irresponsible with money and has asked for help before, but this time felt different because it was so much more serious. I told her I needed some time to think it over, and I spent several days weighing the pros and cons. On one hand, I didn't want to see my sister homeless or in deep financial trouble. On the other hand, I was concerned that lending her this money without any real plan or accountability would just enable her bad habits and put me in a tough position if she couldn't pay me back. After a lot of thought, I decided to decline her request. I explained to her that I cared about her, but I couldn't just hand over such a large sum of money without some sort of plan or evidence that she was serious about fixing her situation. I suggested she look into financial counseling or debt consolidation services, and that if she showed real progress and commitment, I might consider helping in smaller amounts over time. The reaction from Emily was immediate and intense. She accused me of being selfish and uncaring, and said I was choosing money over family. She said I was the only person she could count on, and that I was letting her down in the worst way possible. I tried to stay calm and reiterate my concerns, but she hung up on me. Since then, my parents have also gotten involved. They're upset with me for not helping Emily, and they think I'm being unreasonable. They believe family should always come first, and that if I could afford it, I should help without hesitation. My friends are split. Some say I'm right to protect my own finances and not enable bad behavior. Others think family obligations come first, and I should have done more. To be clear, I'm not refusing to help forever. I'm just not comfortable giving her a lump sum with no plan. I'm open to helping in ways that support her long-term financial health, like helping her find a financial advisor, assisting with budgeting, or even helping her find a new job. But just giving her $10,000 feels like a Band-Aid on a much bigger issue. Emily hasn't spoken to me since that conversation. Our parents are pressuring me to reconsider, and I'm worried this is going to cause a permanent divide in our family. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to give my sister $10,000 to bail her out of her financial troubles? Or am I justified in wanting her to take responsibility and have a plan before I help? AITA for refusing to give my sister a substantial loan after she insisted she was owed the money despite her irresponsible spending habits? So, this is a bit long, but I'm hoping to get some outside perspective because the whole situation has divided my family and left me feeling pretty blindsided. I, 32F, had a younger sister, 27F, named Emily. We've always had a complicated relationship, to put it lightly. Growing up, Emily was the golden child, charming, funny, and the one who always got the benefit of the doubt from my parents. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the one who took on jobs to help pay for college and moved out as soon as I could. That dynamic has followed us into adulthood. My parents still dote on Emily, sometimes to the point where it feels unfair, but whatever. The issue, money. Emily has never been great at managing it. She's bounced between jobs, lived paycheck to paycheck, and has a habit of spending impulsively. She's also incredibly good at playing the victim when things go wrong. I'm struggling. Why won't anyone help me? Kind of thing. In contrast, I've been working in tech for several years and have been able to save a decent amount of money. I'm not rich by any means, but I'm comfortable. Because of Emily's financial troubles, my parents have occasionally given her small loans or helped out with bills. I don't mind helping when it's reasonable, but I'm also careful not to enable bad behavior. Fast forward to last year. Emily lost her job due to COVID layoffs. She came to me and said she needed a loan of $8,000 to cover rent and some bills until she found something new. $8,000 is a lot for me, but I considered it. I told her I'd help with a smaller amount, maybe $2,000, and she could find a way to manage the rest or ask my parents. She got upset and accused me of being selfish and not supporting my family. I stuck to my guns because I didn't want to set a precedent of giving her large sums. Emily ended up borrowing the $8,000 from my parents, and things seemed okay for a while. She got a new job after a few months, but soon after, she was asking for more money, unexpected expenses, car repairs, doctor bills, whatever it was. Each time she asked, my parents gave her more money without consulting me, even though I was the only one who had lent her money before. I started feeling frustrated that they were just handing over cash without making her accountable. The real breaking point came about 2 months ago. Emily called me, saying she was desperate and needed $5,000 more. She said she was owed the money because I had benefited from my parents' generosity toward her. She claimed that since I had a better financial situation, I should be helping her more. I told her flat out that I wasn't giving her more money. I reminded her that I'd already offered to help with a smaller loan and that my parents were the ones who had loaned her the large sums. She exploded, calling me a terrible sister, saying I was cold and only cared about myself. My parents got involved after that call. They said I was being unreasonable and should be helping Emily out since she was family. I argued that helping doesn't mean enabling and that Emily needed to take responsibility for her finances instead of expecting handouts. My dad said, "You think you're better than your sister," which really hurt. Since then, Emily has refused to talk to me and has been telling other family members that I'm selfish and unwilling to help. My parents seem to be split. My mom agrees I should help more, but my dad thinks Emily needs to grow up. I've been feeling guilty and torn because I don't want to lose my family over money, but at the same time, I can't just keep bailing her out. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to give my sister a large loan because I believe she's financially irresponsible and owed the money. Some clarifications I want to add. I'm not saying I don't care about Emily's struggles. I've helped in other ways, like job hunting advice and emotional support. I'm open to giving smaller loans or gifts when I can, but $5,000 or $8,000 at a time feels excessive and risky. I've asked Emily multiple times to try budgeting and seek financial counseling, but she brushes it off. My parents' involvement makes it complicated since they've loaned her more money than I have. Thanks for reading. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she disinvited me over a seemingly minor argument. This has been eating at me for weeks now, and I'm honestly unsure if I'm the jerk here or if my sister is completely unreasonable. So some background. I'm 29F and my sister, Emily, is 31F. We've always had a bit of a complicated relationship, sometimes close, sometimes distant, but generally, we've been civil and supportive of each other. I live in a different city now for work, so we don't see each other as often as before, but I've always made a point to be there for big family events. Emily got engaged about a year ago to her boyfriend, Mark. We all like Mark well enough, though he's a bit more introverted and quiet than Emily or me. I was genuinely happy for her and immediately started helping with wedding planning ideas from afar. The wedding was supposed to be in late summer this year, and I was looking forward to it. Emily's fiancé is a decent cook, and they had planned a small outdoor ceremony with close family and friends. Nothing huge, but meaningful. Fast forward to about 2 months ago, Emily invited me over for lunch when I was visiting my hometown. I was excited because it had been a while since we'd hung out one-on-one. During lunch, the conversation turned to the wedding guest list, and Emily mentioned a problem with seating arrangements. Here's where things started to get weird. Emily told me she had to cut down on guests due to venue capacity and budget constraints, and that some people had to be dropped. She asked me if I could help by reconsidering inviting my boyfriend, who I'd been dating for about a year, and maybe 1 or 2 friends from my side. I found this request a bit strange because the wedding was supposed to be family-oriented, and I thought my boyfriend would be a given as my plus one. Also, I hadn't even talked about friends attending. I asked if she was serious about this, and she said yes, she really wanted a smaller, more intimate wedding without too many plus ones. I told her that while I understood the budget constraints, I wasn't comfortable uninviting my boyfriend because he's been a significant part of my life for the last year. She seemed irritated and said she'd think about it. A few days later, I got a message from Emily saying that after talking to Mark, they decided not to invite my boyfriend to the wedding. She said it wasn't personal, just logistics, but if I insisted on bringing him, I wouldn't be welcome at all. I was shocked. It felt like a pretty harsh ultimatum over something that seemed trivial to me. I tried calling her to explain that I didn't want to cause drama, but that excluding my boyfriend felt hurtful. She refused to talk and said she needed space. I decided to attend the wedding solo, hoping that she'd cool down and maybe reconsider. I was already buying my plane tickets and looking for accommodation. Then, 2 weeks ago, Emily sent me a text that said, "After thinking about it more, we've decided you can't come either. It's better this way." No explanation, no conversation, just that message. I felt blindsided and hurt. I tried reaching out multiple times to understand what I did wrong. She blocked my number and hasn't responded to any messages. Our parents are confused and upset. They've tried mediating, but Emily insists this is final and refuses to talk to me. I'm at a loss. I don't want to cause a family rift over a wedding, but I also feel disrespected and excluded unfairly. I honestly don't know if I'm being unreasonable by standing my ground on bringing my boyfriend, or if I should have just let it go for the sake of the wedding. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to back down on bringing my boyfriend, and thus not attending my sister's wedding? Or is Emily the jerk for cutting me off so abruptly? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she excluded my daughter from being a bridesmaid? This has been a huge source of stress and heartache in my family, and I honestly don't know if I'm the asshole here. I'm 38F, married with a 7-year-old daughter, Emma. My younger sister, 34F, recently got engaged and has been planning her wedding for about a year now. I was excited for her, especially since we've always been close despite a few sibling spats growing up. Emma is my world. She's sweet, polite, and absolutely adores my sister. When my sister announced she was getting married, Emma immediately started dreaming about being part of the wedding party. She would ask me every day if she could be a bridesmaid and even practiced walking down the aisle with her dolls. It was adorable, and I thought my sister would love including her in some capacity. About 3 months ago, my sister sat me down for a conversation. She told me she appreciated how close Emma and I were, but she had decided not to include children in the wedding party. She explained that the wedding was going to be very formal and elegant, and that she wanted the bridesmaids to be adults only, no kids. I understood her reasoning, although it hurt a bit. What hurt more was that she had already picked my other niece, her sister's daughter, to be a junior bridesmaid. The niece is 12 years old, and apparently, because she was older, she fit the mature vibe my sister wanted for the bridal party. Emma was never even asked. I felt like this was unfair, but I didn't want to make a scene. A few weeks later, I asked my sister if Emma could at least be a flower girl or help out in some small way. She said she appreciated the offer, but had already made other arrangements. A close family friend's daughter would be the flower girl. She told me she wanted the wedding to be streamlined and not too crowded with kids. Emma was devastated when she found out. She cried for days and stopped talking about the wedding altogether. My husband and I tried to cheer her up, but she still felt left out and ignored by her aunt. I was angry and disappointed. My sister had made a deliberate choice to exclude my daughter despite knowing how excited she was. I called my sister to express how hurt Emma was, hoping she would reconsider or at least acknowledge my daughter's feelings. Instead, she told me I was overreacting and that the wedding was her special day, not a place for children's participation unless they met her specific criteria. She said I was making this about Emma too much and that I needed to respect her wishes. Feeling unsupported, I told her that if Emma wasn't welcome in the bridal party or any role in the ceremony, then I wouldn't attend the wedding. She was shocked and said I was being unreasonable and punishing her for something so trivial. I said it wasn't trivial to me or Emma and that it felt like a slap in the face to exclude her daughter while including other kids. She accused me of guilt-tripping and emotionally blackmailing her. The situation has split the family. Some relatives say I'm right to stand up for my daughter and not let her be sidelined. Others say I'm being petty and selfish for threatening not to attend a big moment in my sister's life. My husband supports me, but worries this will permanently damage my relationship with my sister and the rest of the family. The wedding is next month, and I haven't confirmed whether I'll go. Emma still hopes I will, but I don't want her to be invisible or hurt on what should be a joyous occasion. I want my sister to realize that excluding Emma wasn't just about a wedding detail. It felt like a rejection of a child who adores her aunt and just wanted to share in her happiness. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she excluded my daughter from the bridal party despite other kids being included. Am I overreacting and making this bigger than it should be? Or is my sister in the wrong for ignoring my daughter's feelings and not even offering her a small role? AITA for refusing to help my sister after she intentionally excluded me from her wedding and now expects me to pick up the pieces? This has been a really difficult situation for me, and honestly, I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. I've never posted on Reddit before, but after everything unfolded, I felt like I needed to share my story and get an outside perspective. I'm not even sure if I'm the asshole here or if I'm justified in feeling the way I do. So, here's the background. I, 29F, have a younger sister, Emily, 26F. Growing up, we were close, but definitely had our typical sibling rivalry moments. Our parents divorced when we were teenagers, which complicated things, but we still kept in touch and had a generally good relationship into adulthood. I was always the more responsible, organized one, while Emily was more free-spirited and sometimes a bit irresponsible. That dynamic played into a lot of our relationship, but I always tried to support her when she needed it. Emily got engaged about a year ago to her boyfriend, Mark. From the moment she got engaged, she started planning the wedding and was extremely secretive about her plans. I tried to be involved, asked if she wanted me to help with anything or be part of the bridal party, but she always gave vague answers or said she'd let me know. I honestly thought maybe she was just overwhelmed and would circle back to me eventually. Fast forward to a few months ago, Emily sends out wedding invitations. To my shock, mine wasn't included. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I messaged her, and she told me she didn't want me there. She said that because of past disagreements and how I always try to control things, she felt it was better if I wasn't involved in the wedding or present on her big day. She also mentioned that she didn't want me anywhere near the planning or execution of the event. I was crushed and confused. I tried to talk to her and understand what I'd done to deserve this treatment, but she wouldn't engage in a meaningful conversation. She said I was toxic and that she needed to protect her happiness. I was really upset, but decided to respect her wishes, even if it hurt. About 2 weeks before the wedding, I get a panic call from Emily. Apparently, their wedding planner had a personal emergency and had to back out last minute. Mark's mom also had a health issue and couldn't help with organizing the event. The venue manager was pushing for final confirmations, and they were scrambling. Emily called me, pleading for help. At this point, I'm torn. I'm still hurt by how she excluded me and treated me like I wasn't family, but part of me still wanted to support her because it was her wedding. I asked her why she didn't reach out sooner or at least included me in the planning when she knew I'm good at organizing events. She said she didn't want my help and didn't trust me, but that now they were desperate. Despite my hurt feelings, I agreed to help because I felt like it was the right thing to do. I spent the next week helping to coordinate vendors, create timelines, arrange seating charts, and basically salvage the entire event. I even did a lot of the running around on the day of the wedding because Emily and Mark were overwhelmed. Here's where the real problem starts. After the wedding, Emily thanked me but said I had overstepped. She said she was grateful but didn't want me to get involved in any future family events. She also went on social media posting pictures from the wedding, making it seem like Mark's family and friends organized everything, completely erasing my contributions. I confronted her about this, feeling incredibly hurt that all my hard work was ignored and erased publicly. She accused me of trying to make herself look bad and said I was trying to insert myself into her life. I told her that helping her out wasn't about attention, but she didn't want to hear it. To make matters worse, our parents got involved. They told me I should let it go for the sake of family peace and that Emily is just stressed and emotional. They think I should apologize for overstepping and accept being pushed away. I've been feeling angry, confused, and deeply hurt. I don't want to cause a family feud, but I also don't want to be treated like I don't matter. I've tried reaching out multiple times to rebuild the relationship, but Emily ignores me or blocks me on social media. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to help my sister anymore after she intentionally excluded me from her wedding and then tried to erase my help from the narrative? Or am I wrong for expecting at least some gratitude and respect? Thanks for reading. AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her emotional support dog to my wedding, even though she insisted it was non-negotiable. I, 29F, am currently planning my wedding with my fiancé, 30M. We're about 6 months out from the big day, and honestly, this process has been stressful, but we're excited overall. The issue that has come up and caused a huge rift in my family is my sister, 27F, and her emotional support dog, Charlie. Some background. My sister has struggled with anxiety and depression for most of her adult life. About 2 years ago, she got Charlie, a small terrier mix, whom she claims helps her immensely. She has an official letter from a therapist saying Charlie is an emotional support animal, ESA, but Charlie is not a service dog and doesn't have any special training beyond typical obedience. She travels with Charlie often and brings him to some places, although not all venues allow ESAs. When we first started planning the wedding, I told my sister that we wanted a pet-free event. The venue has a strict no-pets policy except for service dogs, per ADA laws. I explained that Charlie doesn't qualify as a service dog, and bringing him would be against the rules. She seemed upset, but said she understood. A few months ago, my sister sent me a message out of the blue and said she wasn't coming to the wedding unless Charlie was allowed. She said the anxiety she feels about being in crowded social situations without him is overwhelming, and that it would be non-negotiable that he comes with her. She insisted that excluding Charlie was unfair and that I was being insensitive to her mental health needs. My fiancé and I talked it over and decided that we could not break the venue's rules. The place is very strict, and they've already warned us about security and liability issues. We also talked about the fact that a wedding is a public event with many people, including children, some of whom have allergies or fears around dogs. Bringing Charlie could create problems for others. I offered to have a quiet, separate space off-site where my sister could be with Charlie before and after the ceremony, and even to help arrange for a handler or friend to watch Charlie while she was inside the venue if she felt overwhelmed. I also told her she was welcome to come for the reception afterward, where we have reserved a dog-friendly outdoor patio space for a few hours. She refused all of these compromises. She called me selfish and said I didn't care about her well-being. She told me that if I loved her, I would put her mental health first and make an exception for Charlie. She's now threatening not to come and has been telling other family members that I'm discriminating against her. Our parents are caught in the middle. They think I'm being too rigid but also recognize the venue's rules. Some of my extended family members have expressed disappointment, saying that it's just a dog and I should be more understanding. Others say I'm right to stick to the rules. I feel awful about hurting my sister's feelings, but I also have to think about the safety and comfort of all our guests. I want my wedding day to be joyful, not filled with conflict or stress over a dog. I also don't want to undermine the venue's policies or set a precedent that rules can be broken for one person. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her emotional support dog to my wedding, even though she says it's essential for her mental health and won't come otherwise. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she publicly humiliated me over a deeply personal issue. I, 32F, come from a fairly close-knit family. I have one younger sister, Emma, 28F, who has always been the more outgoing and socially dominant sibling. Growing up, we were close, but also had our fair share of rivalry, which is normal. Over the years, we've grown apart due to differences in personalities and choices, but I never imagined a fallout this severe. A bit of background about me. I've struggled with severe social anxiety and depression since my early 20s. It's something I've been managing with therapy and medication. And while it's not always visible, it's a constant battle for me. Emma, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, extremely social, outspoken, and often very blunt. She's the kind of person who says exactly what she thinks, sometimes without considering the impact on others. About 6 months ago, Emma got engaged to her boyfriend, Mark. The engagement news was exciting for the family, and they immediately started planning the wedding. I was happy for her, but nervous about the attention and social obligations that would come with the event, especially since it was going to be a large wedding with a lot of extended family and friends. During the early planning stages, Emma and I talked a few times about the wedding. I mentioned that I might need some accommodations due to my anxiety, such as not being put on the spot for speeches or being in charge of any major social duties. She seemed to understand and agreed to be considerate. Fast forward to last month, Emma's bachelorette party was held. It was a small gathering of her close friends and family. I was invited, but was very upfront about how overwhelming such events were for me. I explained I might not be able to stay long or participate in certain activities. Emma said she understood. The bachelorette party went ahead, and the night of the event, I received a text from Emma asking me to come earlier to help set up and stay late to clean up. I reminded her of my anxiety and said I wasn't comfortable with that. She responded that it was just a few hours and that I should push myself for her sake. I didn't want to cause drama, so I reluctantly agreed. When I arrived, things were chaotic. The party was loud and crowded, and my anxiety quickly spiked. Emma seemed frustrated with my quietness and told me to loosen up and stop being such a downer. Later in the evening, after a few drinks, she pulled me aside in front of everyone and said, "You know, it's really pathetic how you can't even enjoy something as simple as this. Maybe if you tried harder, you wouldn't be such a miserable mess all the time." I was mortified. Everyone was watching, and I felt exposed and humiliated. I tried to explain that it wasn't about trying harder. This was something I struggled with every day, but Emma cut me off and said I was just being dramatic and making excuses. The next day, I texted Emma expressing how hurt I was by her words and asked for an apology. She replied with a dismissive message, saying she was just joking and that I needed to stop being so sensitive. The tension between us grew. A few weeks ago, Emma invited me to a family brunch. I thought it might be a chance to mend things, but during the event, she brought up my issues again in front of other relatives, joking about how fragile and high maintenance I am. It was humiliating, and I left early. After that, I decided I couldn't be around Emma until she showed some respect for my mental health. She sent me multiple messages demanding that I confirm my attendance at the wedding. I told her I was still unsure because I didn't feel welcome or comfortable. Yesterday, Emma posted a public message on social media about family unity and how those who can't support us shouldn't expect invitations to big moments. She tagged me and a few others. It was a clear jab, and I'm devastated. I responded privately, saying that I loved her but could not accept being treated the way she's treated me and that I wouldn't be attending the wedding if this was how she saw me. She accused me of trying to make everything about myself and called me selfish. So here I am, feeling torn. I don't want to miss my sister's wedding, but I also don't want to be around someone who belittles my struggles and disrespects me publicly. I've always tried to be there for her, but it seems like she only values me when it suits her. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after the way she has treated me? Should I just put my feelings aside and go to support her? Or is it reasonable for me to set this boundary? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her boyfriend? This is a long story, so bear with me. I, 28F, come from a pretty close-knit family. I have one younger sister, Emily, 25F. Growing up, Emily and I were really close. We shared everything, supported each other, and had a pretty normal sibling rivalry, but nothing serious. Our parents were always very involved, and family gatherings were something we all looked forward to. About 2 years ago, Emily started dating a guy named Mark, 30M. At first, I was excited for her because she hadn't been in a serious relationship before and seemed genuinely happy. Mark seemed nice enough at first glance, polite, friendly, and somewhat charming. But the more I got to know him, the more I realized that he wasn't someone I could ever trust or feel comfortable around. I've tried to be fair and give him a chance, but only got worse. Mark is manipulative and controlling. He always has to be the center of attention, constantly putting others down to make himself look better. During family gatherings, he often makes passive-aggressive comments about my career. I'm a teacher, and whenever I bring up anything personal or vulnerable, he either ignores me or makes a joke at my expense. I've talked to my parents and Emily about it, but they dismiss it as just his personality or he's a little rough around the edges. I tried to tell Emily that I felt uncomfortable around him, but she said I was being judgmental and needed to get to know him better. A few months ago, Emily announced that she and Mark were engaged and planning a wedding. I was happy for her on the surface, but also very anxious because I knew Mark would be there, and honestly, I didn't want to be around him. I told Emily that I was struggling with the idea because of how he treats me and the way he behaves around our family. She said that if I wanted to be part of her life, I needed to accept Mark and that the wedding was a day to celebrate love and family, not drama. I tried to let it go and agreed to attend the engagement party, hoping things might improve. They didn't. At the party, Mark made a big scene because someone complimented Emily's dress more than his own, which felt humiliating for Emily, but hilarious for him. Later, when I tried to talk to Emily privately about the way Mark was acting, she brushed me off and said I was making a mountain out of a molehill. The wedding was set for a few months later. Emily and Mark were incredibly insistent that I be there. They asked my parents to pressure me, and suddenly, my family became the battleground. My parents told me I needed to put aside my feelings for the sake of family unity and for Emily's happiness. I was hurt because I felt like they were ignoring my experiences and feelings about Mark's behavior. Finally, I decided I couldn't go. I told Emily that I wouldn't attend her wedding as long as Mark was involved. I made it clear that this was not a decision I made lightly and that I loved her but couldn't pretend to be happy around someone who treated me poorly. Emily was furious. She called me selfish, immature, and said that I was choosing to alienate myself from my family over a boyfriend who's not even that bad. After that, the family split down the middle. Some relatives sided with Emily and Mark, accusing me of causing unnecessary drama. Others said I was justified in standing up for myself and protecting my mental health. Emily stopped talking to me entirely. Our parents are upset, but don't want to get involved beyond telling me to fix things. It's been 6 months since the wedding. Emily and Mark's relationship is as public and perfect as ever on social media, but we haven't spoken once. I miss my sister, but I don't regret my decision. I'm still in therapy trying to work through the fallout, and honestly, I'm exhausted by the entire situation. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her boyfriend? Or was it understandable to put my mental health and boundaries first, even if it meant losing my sister for now? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after she publicly humiliated me over something I didn't do? I, 29F, have always been close with my family, especially my younger sister, Emily, 26F. We grew up in a pretty normal middle-class household with loving parents, and although we had our usual sibling spats, we were always supportive of each other. That said, things have been tense since last year, and now I'm caught in this mess that's making me question whether I'm the jerk for refusing to go to her wedding. Here's what happened. Emily got engaged about a year ago to a guy named Mark. They've been dating for around 3 years, and while I wasn't overly enthusiastic about him at first, because of how secretive he was and some weird vibes I got from him, I decided to give him a chance. Over time, I tried to be supportive, attending dinners and family gatherings with him. Fast forward to last summer, Emily started planning the wedding. It was going to be a big event. She wanted a fancy venue, lots of guests, and a detailed itinerary. I was excited and offered to help, but she kept most of the planning with Mark and her fiancé's family. Now here's the crux. About 6 months ago, one of Emily's bridesmaids, Sarah, asked me if I could pick up some dresses from the bridal shop because she was swamped with work. I agreed without hesitation. The shop was about 20 minutes from my apartment, so I made a day of it, drove there, picked up the dresses, and brought them home. When I got home, I realized one of the dresses looked torn. I called the shop immediately to report it and arranged to return it and get a replacement. I let Sarah know what happened, and she was grateful I handled it. All good so far, right? Here's where things took a nasty turn. A few weeks ago, during a rehearsal dinner, Emily publicly called me out in front of all the bridesmaids, her fiancé's family, and some close friends. She accused me of damaging the bridesmaid dresses on purpose, insinuating that I was trying to sabotage her wedding because I was jealous or upset about something. I was stunned and mortified. I tried to explain what happened, that the dress was already torn when I picked it up, and I had even notified the store and arranged a replacement. Emily wasn't having it. She said I was lying and that I always had a dramatic attitude and sabotaged things. Everyone went quiet. Some looked uncomfortable, and I felt utterly humiliated. I left the dinner early, and Emily didn't reach out to talk or clear things up. When I tried texting her the next day to discuss it calmly, she ignored me. Since then, our relationship has been strained. My parents have tried to mediate, but Emily insists I was at fault. Mark has been distant towards me too, and Sarah has stopped responding to my messages, clearly taking Emily's side. I decided I couldn't attend the wedding. I told Emily that I'm not going to be part of an event where I'm treated like a villain without any proof or chance to defend myself properly. Emily's reaction was harsh. She told me I was being selfish and that I was ruining her special day because of my unwarranted bitterness. She said I was acting like a child and that I should just apologize publicly if I wanted to come. But I don't feel like apologizing for something I didn't do. I'm hurt, and I don't want to be around people who believe false accusations without hearing me out. Our parents are upset with both of us. They say I should make peace for the sake of family harmony. But I also think Emily should acknowledge her mistake in accusing me so publicly and unfairly. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after she publicly humiliated me over something I didn't do. AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he insulted my wife and disrespected my family. This has been a mess for the last few months, and I need to know if I'm the asshole here or if I'm justified. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, Sarah, 32F, for about 6 years now. We have 2 kids, ages 5 and 3, and live in a pretty quiet suburb. My sister, Emma, 29F, has been dating her boyfriend, Jake, 30M, for the last year. Jake and I have never really gotten along, but I've tried to keep things civil for the sake of my sister. A little backstory. Jake is pretty blunt and outspoken. Sometimes I think he enjoys being abrasive, but I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe it's just his way of being. My wife and I are both fairly calm people and tend to avoid confrontation unless absolutely necessary. We try to keep things peaceful around the kids. About 4 months ago, Emma and Jake started asking if they could stay over at our place occasionally. They live about an hour away, and they said they wanted a place to crash if they were in town late or if something came up. My wife was okay with it as long as it was only a couple of nights and if they respected the house rules, which include no smoking inside, no loud parties, and general respect for the kids in our space. I was hesitant but figured it might be fine. The first time they stayed over, things were mostly okay, although Jake did make a couple of snide remarks about how boring our neighborhood was and how he didn't get why people settled down in quiet suburbs instead of the city. I shrugged it off, thinking maybe he just wasn't used to it. But my wife was quietly annoyed. The second time it got worse. Jake showed up drunk and immediately started making jokes about Sarah's cooking, calling it bland and uninspired, which was rude, but I tried to brush it off. My wife was hurt, and I confronted Jake quietly about it. He shrugged and said it was just a joke, and if we couldn't take a joke, that was our problem. That rubbed me the wrong way. The last straw was about 2 weeks ago. Emma and Jake were staying over for the weekend. We had a family dinner planned, just us, the kids, Emma, and Jake. During dinner, Jake made a pointed comment about how women like Sarah shouldn't expect men to be so soft and how modern feminists are ruining relationships by playing victim. Sarah was stunned and tried to stay calm, but I could see she was upset. I asked Jake to stop and reminded him that this was our home and our family, and we expected respect. Jake doubled down, saying he was just speaking the truth and that if we couldn't handle it, maybe we shouldn't have invited him. I asked Emma if they wanted to leave early, but she just looked uncomfortable and said no, they would stay. After dinner, Jake got louder and started making other insulting comments about our parenting style and how kids need discipline, not coddling. The kids were in the room, and Sarah was close to tears. That night, I told Emma and Jake that their behavior was unacceptable and that they would not be welcome to stay over anymore. Emma argued that I was overreacting and that Jake was just being himself, but I stood my ground. I told them they could visit during the day, but not stay overnight. Emma hasn't spoken to me much since. She says I'm being unfair and that Jake didn't mean to be rude. She also says I'm causing a rift in the family by not allowing them to stay. Sarah supports my decision completely, and the kids are happier now without Jake's attitude around. My parents and some extended family say I should try to be more understanding and that Jake's personality is just different and maybe I'm too sensitive. But I feel like I have to protect my wife and kids from disrespect. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house after he insulted my wife and disrespected my family? Or am I justified in drawing this line? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.